Dolly Rebecca Parton.
Well,
Long time
that'd
no
be
talk.
I know, I was just telling her I couldn't wait to see you. It's been a while since I got to talk to you. So everything good with you?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. You still working on your play?
Oh, I am. Yeah, it's a lot of
Uh-huh.
work working on the
We'll get
music
yeah,
as
we'll
well
get
as
to
the
that.
yeah. So whatever you want to talk about, you know me. I'll make
Well,
it up as I
I do know you a little bit. And my favorite part of I don't know what yours is, but my favorite part of when we were doing the book and all that jazz was we used to sometimes ride together with your dog and Danny and go to your studio and we'd have 40 minutes or whatever just to shoot the breeze about family and your family and my family and what was going on and the book a little bit and all. And I love those. That's my best memory of all of it. I don't know how that it fits in with you, but I love that.
Oh, I love that too. That's always the good part is getting to know people you work with as the human beings that they are and that you certainly hope that they are. But those were
Uh-huh.
some of my favorite just riding back and forth with you and talking about stuff and realizing we really did have a lot more in common than I realized at the beginning when we first started working together. So I really think of you as a dear friend now.
Well, backgrounds is one of the things. My grandfather, sixth grade education. My father grew up in a poorhouse, and your family with 12 kids and all that stuff. But I think one of the things that's interesting to me, and in terms of what your viewpoint is, I found, and I think you found it the same way. My grandparents and my parents were really smart, terrific people. And I don't think people understand, a lot of people don't understand that people can, not necessarily have a lot of money, but be really, really smart. Tell me about, I mean, how that fits with your philosophy.
Well, I think that's the greatest kind of smart. That's what we always refer to in the country as horse sense, having good horse sense, meaning
Uh-huh.
in any situation, you just kind of have an innate knowledge of what goes on in life, and you don't learn that in books anyway. I mean, it's great if you can get a great education, but some of the smartest people I've ever known are people that did not have an education, and of course,
And your
growing up.
father and your mother and and Dorothy Joe, your aunt, they had a big, different kinds of effects too, right? So I want you to tell me about that a little bit.
Well, they all had an effect. I think all the people that were rich in spirit, as far as their faith and all, that was always a great foundation, I think. And that's been one of the things through the years that has carried me as far, if not farther than almost anything, is having that spiritual base. And my grandpa was a preacher. My Aunt Dorothy Joe, that you talked about, she was a preacher as well, but she's also a great writer. And my mother was very deep and just had a great philosophy about life. And they just knew how to talk to you about things. They just kind of had a bead on what the real life was really about. So
Mhm.
everybody has something to offer, and every relative that you have, whether it be about the music or whether it be about your faith or just about, like we said, good old common sense about how to treat people, how to be. So you don't, like I say, you don't learn that in books anyway. You can learn a lot in books, but that's not where it all is.
So you play guitar and fiddle and piano and recorder and sax and dulcimer and all that. How much were you playing when you were a kid? How much of those instruments? How'd that work out?
Well, all of my people are very musical, and I don't play any of those things that well. I
Well, I
guess
didn't say you played them that well. I
I
just said
play
you played them.
right, and you were right about that. But I've always loved instruments, and I've all of my people would be playing some sort of a different instrument. And anybody that was playing something that came around our house, I wanted them to show me a few chords on whatever they were playing. But I do, of course, I'm a performer too, and a showman, so I kind of make it look like I'm better than what I am. But I do. The guitar is my best instrument. I write some with the piano, but I love the banjo, I love the dulcimer, I like a lot of the old mountain instruments to get those sounds that is just
Mhm.
so much a part of me, those old mountain sounds, but the guitar is the one I use more than anything.
Uh-huh. We talked at the beginning a little bit about the similarities, and so I come to New York, and I have no business being in New York, and and I want to write, and I don't know if I can write, but I need a job. So I go to the ad agency, and what I did was normally the normal route is you bring your portfolio, and then what I did is I brought a portfolio, and then a week later I brought another portfolio, and a week later I brought another portfolio, and I think I exhausted them. So you graduate from high school, boom, you go to Nashville like the next day, right?
Yes, but I had been coming back and forth, to
Hmm.
Nashville since I was a young kid with my Uncle Bill. It's just that when I graduated from high school, bam, the next morning I moved to Nashville, and I've been here since 1964.
And what were some of the obstacles when you first came there? You had this high soprano voice, which I don't think people necessarily saw as country, right? I mean, that's one little piece of the puzzle, right?
Well,
At that time.
I was a mountain country singer, and I had grown up singing, those old mountain songs like the Carter family songs and all the songs we used to hear on the Grand Ole Opry. And a lot of those old world songs that Mama and a lot of the people in the mountains sing that were brought over, from Ireland and Scotland and Wales. And so that was just in my embedded in my soul and in my guts. But I had gone to Nashville to try to be a country star, and then of course you kind of hook up with people at your record label. They think, well, maybe because you're young, maybe you should try to sing some more. I was 18 when I got here. They thought, well, maybe you could maybe try some pop or a little bit of rockabilly and all that. And I did try that. But my natural self was really in country music. And I had written a
Hmm.
song called Put It Off Until Tomorrow. And another country artist, Bill Phillips, who was pretty big at the time, he had a #1 song on it. And I got lucky and got to sing the harmony on the song because I had written it.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, everybody was saying, "Who's the girl singer on that song? That's a great
Uh-huh.
voice." So because of that, I really got to start recording a lot of my first and good country stuff.
And a lot of your early successes there were writing, right? So what
Yes.
made you such a good writer? How'd that work out? Why are
Well,
you so good as a writer? That really irritates me. No,
I
how did that happen?
I think you know all about writing, but that's just something I think you're born with. It's just the way I express myself. But I came from a long line of singers and musicians and writers, and so that just came natural to me. But I saw early on, that was a great way to express my personal self, and a great way to express the things that I felt about so many other people and so many things that people do go through. And it was really like I think of my guitar as my therapist and my words, and I can write about from my joyful times, I can write about sorrowful times, and I can see people that don't know how to express their own sorrows or their own joy, and I can do
Mhm.
that for them. So it's just a gift, and I'm really glad that I have that gift because I love to write.
We talked a lot on our little rides and everything about the importance of storytelling in country music. That's pretty true, right? More than
Yeah.
in, I think, other kinds of music.
I think so because I think in country music you usually have a verse and a chorus, a verse and a chorus, and maybe a little bridge, some kind of release. But they're almost always about what everybody feels, what
Mhm.
sorrows or what we're talking about, or what joys or what hard times, and a lot of them are hard times. It's about heartache. It's about just living hard, and you're just talking about your grandpa growing up in a poorhouse. Everybody in our house was poor, and so
Mhm.
you write about the things that
At
you
least you had a
know.
house.
We did have a house, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
write about the things you feel and what you know about.
So in 2020, I'm jumping ahead and we'll go backwards and forwards and whatever. I show up and we sit in your office for a couple of hours actually, and blah 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 blah. And I loved it, and I think we both liked it. And one of the things you said, which I always loved, is you said Jim, you wrote that you had written thousands of songs, country songs, and you said I could write one standing on my head. Want to see? Which I thought was a very funny line. And
Well,
then we talked about kids' books maybe, and then a couple of ideas about an adult story, which eventually became Romo's Run. And I left you just a couple of notes on it. And what this whole thing is called Hungry Dogs. You are a hungry dog. I think we both are. So I get home, and 2 days later, you got a whole bunch of notes on the story for that, and then you'd already written 7 songs,
I
which was, I'm
know.
like, oh my God. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I
No, but what did you
thought,
really think when I showed up? What were you thinking? Like, who is this hustler? What?
well, first of all, when they said you wanted to work with me, you said something about when I said I could write standing on my head. Well, you kind of stood me on my head when they said James Patterson wants to write something with you. And I thought, well, why does he need me? He seems to be doing okay on his own. And so I was just very flattered and very honored. But I actually was a little bit nervous because I'd never written like a novel. I'd never worked with someone of your caliber in that
I mean,
world at
that
all.
low, right? Yeah.
I used to think about wanting to write a book, but I was just very honored that you even wanted to work with me. But then I remember telling you, now I'm not the kind of person that I just want to put my name on something that you're going to do. I want to be able to do my part, which is
Yeah.
also one of the reasons I thought, well, when we talked, I thought, well, the best way I can express myself is to write some stories that I'm feeling about the stuff we talked about, put that
Hmm.
in song, and for you to draw
Hmm.
from that. And so I just felt like I was doing my part with that, but I was just, like I say, honored and flattered, and I'm just so happy we did it because it turned out to be number one for a long time,
Uh-huh.
and I got to know you, which is one of
It's
the
still
best parts
selling.
of the whole thing.
It's still
So,
selling. Yeah, I love that whole experience, and I love going back and forth with you on it because not specifically, it's not autobiographical, but you've lived what she went through, and and that authenticity you find in the book, I think, is very special. And so I didn't just have to make stuff up, which was really good. And then we would go back pretty much every week about, well, what do you think? What do you think? And I thought that was really healthy and terrific. One of the secret weapons, and I don't know that people totally understand this about this, is about you, is how crazy smart you are. Crazy, crazy, crazy smart. One of the smartest people I've ever met. And your business sense. And with your business sense, the other thing is a sense of fairness as a business person, which I always found. You were always fair dealing with me, and but smart about stuff, always smart about it.
oh, that's a very nice compliment. I don't know how smart I am. I always have a line that I say, I'm a very professional Dolly Parton. I don't know how smart I am about other things or other people, but
Uh-huh.
I feel like I have a good beat on who I am, what I want, what I need, and what my desires are, and how I need to kind of handle that. But thank you for the nice compliment. But I just really kind of stay in my lane, know what I do best. I know what I can and can't do, what I will and won't do. And I think if you keep your head on straight, and if you have a gift, like I say, with the writing or the singing or whatever, I think you can make all that work for you. I think that
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
takes a clever person more than just smart, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But even on the business side, so you had this song, "I Will Always Love You," and Colonel Tom Parker, because Elvis wanted to sing the song, right? Well, just tell us a little bit about that kind of negotiation, so to speak, because Colonel Parker was kind of a hustler.
Well, he was, but he was a smart manager. He was a smart businessman. You can't fault the
Hmm.
man for that.
Oh
And
yeah,
he
we
took
can.
Elvis he did great with that, but early on, I had to write for other publishing companies. You have to start out, you have to be able to, to sacrifice what you need to, as long till you get to where you need to be, and as soon as you are able to, think more on the business end of things and try to get your things together, which I have through the years tried to gather up any of my songs that were scattered out to have them back in my own basket. But at that time, I had started my own publishing company, and "I Will Always Love You" was my biggest copyright at the time, and it had already been number one. And so when Elvis wanted to record it, it had nothing to do with Elvis. He loved the song. I'm sure he was probably as disappointed as I was, or I hope so. Anyway, Colonel Tom had called the night before, and I was going to go down to the session. Elvis, they had invited me down, and I was so excited, told everybody Elvis was going to sing my song. And then Colonel Tom had said, we don't record anything with Elvis unless we have the publishing or at least half the publishing. I said, well, now that's not going to work for me because this is my most important copyright, and I'm not going to be able to do that." He said, "Well, then we're not going to be able to do it." And I was just crushed over it, but I said, "Well, then so be it."
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh.
one,
Uh-huh. Good for you. But and leave it to wait till the night before, right? I love that. You
yeah, I
know,
know.
yeah, they're clever. The probably the most famous, you might, I'm not sure what you would say, 9 to 5, maybe in terms of the movies. What have you always liked about the movie experience, Hollywood, all that? You did one with Burt Reynolds, which was another hit.
Yeah, actually, 9 to 5 was the first movie that I'd ever made. I'd never even seen a movie made until that time,
Mm.
and so I felt very honored to get to work with 2 of the biggest stars at that time. Lily Tomlin was very big at the time as a comedian, and of course, Jane is Jane Fonda. She was always,
Mhm,
famous, and she and her
mhm,
dad, and, so I just felt that if I was gonna be doing the movies, this would be a really good opportunity for me. And it was all about women, and I felt it was something I could do, and so I told
mhm,
Jane I would love to be in it if I could write the theme song, which I
mhm,
did, and which turned out to be another great move, a business move on my end as far as a writer, publisher. So I
uh-huh,
try, if I can, to kinda get a chance to do that, but that was a new experience, and I had a wonderful time doing that
uh-huh,
show.
uh-huh,
That's Little Poorhouse in Texas with Bert. It was after 9 to 5, the one right after, and
right.
it was not as much fun. It was harder, there
Uh-huh,
was a
uh-huh,
he was not healthy at the time, and there was a lot of things that went on with that one, so that one was as hard to do as 9 to 5 was easy to do, but they
uh-huh,
both
uh-huh,
very proud of both of them.
uh-huh, uh-huh, good, good, good. It's a couple of my favorite Romeo's Run stories. One of them, I don't know if I ever told you this particular story, but you called at one point and I picked up the phone and it was my birthday and you sang happy birthday to me over the phone. And what I wanted to do was say, Dolly, I want you to call again and you're going to get voicemail and I want you to sing it again. So I would, but I didn't have the nerve so that I would have a copy of it, but I said, I can't do it. I didn't have the nerve. The other quick story is we went to, I think the Country Music Awards in Vegas and they had a thing where you're on stage and you're the big star and I just had this little thing where I was going to introduce you. And so I'm waiting, and it's dark out in the stadium, and they have this little producer, and she's going, "Okay, you go over to these stairs," and I needed a mic, and they didn't have a mic, and it was like 10 seconds before, and this is live television, millions and millions of people, and there's no mic and no mic. We need a mic for Mr. Patterson. We need a mic, and finally, like literally 3 seconds before they hand me the mic, and I walk up because without the mic, it would have been ridiculous because I couldn't, nobody would hear me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I told you, and you said, "Welcome to show business," Jimmy James, as you call me.
Call you Jimmy James, but yeah, I've had that happen to me, and I am such a person that, I mean, I like to be prepared for everything, and when you're
Uh-huh,
doing those live shows, they do that to you all the time, and you
uh-huh,
just wanna
uh-huh.
just
Yeah.
say, "Go to hell," instead of, "Ladies and gentlemen, would you make welcome my friend?" But yeah, it's like you're so nervous at the time, you don't even know what you're gonna say.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, you think they'd plan a little bit better. I don't know, whatever. So now you're a rock and roll star too. And you did that album, which was really, I love the idea, one, that I don't know if I really want to do this thing out in Cleveland, but you did it. And then you said, well, if I'm supposed to, I better do some rock and roll stuff. So you did your album with a lot of your own songs, and then you collaborated with Paul McCartney and Ringo and Elton John, etc. Any stories about those collaborations, or a story that was particularly funny or cool or interesting or whatever? I'm sure they were all kind of
They were.
interesting things. Yeah.
They all it's just like every person has their own personality and the way that they work and kinda and so it to me, kinda like when I got to know you, since I loved your books and all, but getting to know you personally was a great joy for me. It's the same thing with all these people that I got to work with. They were all different, and I found out so
Uh-huh.
much about them, and so many of them I really, really liked. Some of them
Uh-huh.
I thought, no, it's well, I liked them all, and I appreciated all of them helping. out with the thing, but some of them I got to really feel close to, and
Hmm.
I just thought, well, I'm going to make this an enjoyable time in my life. I'm going to enjoy
Hmm.
every
Hmm.
bit of
Hmm.
did, and I'm so happy I did that album. That's one of my favorite things I've ever done, and getting
Hmm.
to work some of those great songs with those great artists was really like a joy to me.
We talked right at the beginning about your play, which you've been working on for a while. And one of the things which is called Hello, I'm Dolly, right?
Well, actually, we're
And
gonna just call it Dolly now. We were
Dolly,
gonna call
okay. I'm
it's just
glad
called
you are. I was thinking about that, and I'm glad you are because you should own it, not any connection to that other play and whatever. So I love that. I love that you're just going to call it Dolly. Personally, that just I was thinking about that, and I go like, yeah, but this is her, man. This is her thing, and and you should own it. I thought anyway.
Can I
Um,
story though?
mhm.
Can I tell you
Yeah.
why? Well, my first album back when I was young was called Hello, I'm Dolly. And when I
Uh-huh.
was in high school in 1964, all the 4 years before we graduated in '64, we made up money to go to New York and to DC. And we went to the World's Fair there. And so when our little tour buses from the country came into New York, every taxi cab there was saying, "Hello, Dolly." And of course, since
Uh-huh.
my name is Dolly, I talk about it even in the Broadway musical. I
Uh-huh.
tell this when I set up the story even on
Uh-huh.
Broadway, so maybe I'll call it Hello, I'm Dolly, and we kinda cleared it, but then, like you said, I thought, "Well, why call it that? I don't wanna get it mixed up with the Hello, Dolly," but I do refer to that, and there's that backstory of why at one time I
Yeah.
was
Now, when will the play open?
it's gonna hopefully, it'll come out on Broadway in
Okay.
'26, spring
Okay.
of 20
Okay.
gonna actually premiere it in Nashville, next fall in the
Oh,
25th. We're
okay. So you do Nashville for a little bit and then on to New York. Uh-huh.
6 weeks
And
and then go
yeah, tell me more about that. I mean, you got some original songs, which is really great, and a lot of your famous songs as well.
yes. Well, actually, it's called Dolly, an original musical, and I wrote, a lot of the original songs and, of course, many of the hits, but I just kinda tell my story from the time I was little,
Hmm.
until now, till kind of, till up to now. But it just I think people will be surprised at a lot of the stories that I do tell. A lot of people think they know all the stories, and they do know some, but I've done
Uh-huh.
it in music and with great dialogue. I co-wrote the book with a girl named Maria, Slaughter, and her dad is George Slaughter, who's one of the big producers
Uh-huh.
in Hollywood years ago. He did Laugh-In and a lot of those wonderful shows, but I worked well with Maria, so I'm actually co-wrote the book, the playbill, and, uh,
Hmm.
I wrote the music or chose all the
Hmm.
music. So I think
Hmm.
it's gonna be fun. It's got a lot of laughter, a lot of tears, a lot of
Uh-huh.
heart, a lot of and I'm hoping people are gonna enjoy it.
And now, when do you think you'll start rehearsals or that kind of stuff? Picking an actress, an actor.
We are rehearsing now. We're gonna
Oh, you
start
are.
casting. Yes,
Hmm.
we've been rehearsing and actually working on the music and having different, actors and singers to help us
Hmm.
with it, but we're gonna start casting within the next, 2 months.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, that's cool. I'll come down, and I love Nashville anyway. As you know, I went to Vanderbilt, so I really like the town. And
You gotta yeah.
yeah, no, I'll come. I'll come. I'll come. You give me a place in your little house there, and you can give me ice cream in the refrigerator and stuff.
Do take care of
Uh,
you when you get to town. I got a spot for you always.
all right. Okay. Okay. No, I love that town, and I'm actually doing a book with a professor from Vanderbilt now, a nonfiction book, which will
Oh,
kind of come out next year. Yeah. 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 So that'd be fun. I'm doing another one, which I really like. I came across this thing, and I think it fits us. But I think it's even more important for young people. I didn't write this, but the notion of my time here is short. What can I do most beautifully?
oh,
And
now
I love that. I think it's such a cool thing in terms of focusing people. and getting them to think stuff through. And I know you do, because you have so many projects you could do, and what are you going to do? What do you choose to do? And people want to work with you and all that jazz. And I was unbelievably honored when you said, "Yeah, let's do a book together." Um, but another book that I'm doing next year, and I really love the idea of it, and it's true. I mean, yesterday was the elections, and neither one of us get into that political stuff. But
I'm just glad it's over though. I'm glad we can breathe and move on. Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah, we're day after the election, and it's all we will move on. But as you know, and most of us know, young males in this country they're kind of overwhelmed and they're a little angry and da 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 da. And because of some of that, they don't necessarily make the best dads in the world. And so I wrote a book, which is going to come out next year. And I really like the idea. It's a quick little book, and because guys won't spend a lot of time with it. And it's basically how to be a better dad in 1 hour. And I do that purposely because that's all they'll give to it. But we can talk, and the thing of it is, like when my dad, the first time I remember getting a hug from my dad was on his deathbed. And it's just this notion of getting dads to hug and getting dads to do different things and having somebody to talk to, like, because we kind of talk back and forth in the book. And I just thought it'd be a good thing to do. So once again, my time is short, but I thought that was a beautiful thing to do. And obviously, with your play, you believed, and I think that's accurate, that it would be a good thing to do. What else is going on besides your play, or is that it's always a million things with you, but
Oh,
anything else that's got you excited?
I'm just excited about getting that done. And of course, I'm always involved in more stuff than I can ever get done. But
Uh-huh.
I have a cookbook out with my sister Rachel,
I
and
saw
it's
that,
called.
yeah.
And yeah, and it's doing really well. So
Can you
I've
stay out
been.
of my lane a little bit? Come on, huh?
See,
No, that's
you ruined me. You made me think, oh, I'm a writer now. I'm going to write a
uh-huh.
cookbook. Anyway, but
Uh-huh.
Rachel was
Uh-huh.
it too. So, but anyhow, I'm just working on different things. I have a cosmetic line and a lot of things that we have going. Some wine that when you get your
Wine.
brand. Yeah, like
Okay,
I've
all
got
right, all right.
all these hotels and stuff too, so I can kind of supply my own wines. And I'm going to be opening a hotel here called Songteller in Nashville next year.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh. Where's that? Where is it in Nashville?
town, it's like on Commerce, Third and Commerce, I think, next to the Grand
Okay.
Ole Opry in that
Uh,
area,
the
right
the
up.
the the the, the, the original one.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
original,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I have a
When I was going to school in Nashville, that one was still open. And I went to it 3 or 4 times. Yeah, yeah. It was great. I mean, with the little fans and the whole ball of wax and no air conditioning, and which I
oh,
obviously you know it well. You know it
yeah,
well.
it's
So
super.
is there one song or two songs in Dolly that you go, wow, this is one of my best? Forget about your, Jolene and some of your big hits, but anything new that you really love?
Well, I have a song that's in my Broadway musical that I'm real
Mhm.
excited about. I felt very inspired to write, and it touches on all the people that have helped me along. It's called "I Wouldn't Be Here If You Hadn't Been There," and it's
Mhm.
really,
Mhm.
about, whether it's about God or whether it's about all the people that
Uh-huh.
have helped.
Uh-huh.
So I'm excited about that as one of the songs
See,
from the.
you are a good writer, man.
Well,
Woman.
well, I do love to write. Yeah, you can call me man. I take that as a compliment. I'm just one of the boys.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. I'm
Oh
not going to
boy,
get into the imagination library and the stuff that I do because I always figure that stuff is absolutely no big deal. And because we should be doing it. We should be giving back, and we do. And so that's nothing for me. The last thing I'm going to do is pull out the best birthday present I ever got, my guitar from you. This is my Run Rose Run guitar,
that's
which
it.
you signed, and you
Oh,
say, "I will always love you," and I will always love you too, girl. So
well,
thank you so much for
Mike,
shoot.
do you know any chords at all on that guitar?
I know nothing. No.
Well, you know,
But I
me,
love the
like,
guitar. I don't care. I'm not going to learn the guitar at this stage. Or maybe I will. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll start. Yeah. But
Yeah,
thank you so much. Anything else that you want to throw out here while we're signing
I
off?
just loved it to death, and I'm glad. I was so excited. They said I was gonna get to talk to you today, and I thought, "Yay!" I always feel like that.
I was excited all week. I absolutely agree. And it's really great seeing you. You look terrific as always. And this has
Thank
been
you.
fun for me. Thank you,
Me
thank you,
too.
thank you. Love you, Dolly.